The first time I walked into a Parisian cafe with my toddler, I braced myself for the usual chaos. The high-pitched protests over sitting still, the desperate bargaining for just one more cookie, the inevitable meltdown when I said no. But as I glanced around, something felt off. French children were sitting. They weren't screaming, kicking, or throwing croissants like tiny, enraged revolutionaries. They were eating, quietly, and their parents? They weren't hissing threats or negotiating like hostage diplomats. They were sipping espresso, chatting, even, gasp, relaxing. How? As it turns out, this wasn't just a fluke. French parenting, as researchers and cultural observers have noted for years, operates on a different wavelength when it comes to discipline, one that doesn't rely on yelling, bribes, or endless power struggles. And the science backs it up. Studies on child development and parenting styles consistently show that French methods lead to more emotionally resilient, self-regulated kids. So what's their secret? And more importantly, how can you steal it? Let's start with the cornerstone of French parenting, the pause. In the US, when a child whines or acts out, the instinct is often to react immediately, to correct, soothe, or, let's be honest, yell before the behavior escalates. But French parents do something radical. They wait. They let the child sit with their frustration for a moment, not out of neglect, but to teach them that they can handle it. Psychologists call this emotional scaffolding, giving kids just enough space to practice self-regulation without rushing in to fix everything. A 2021 study in child development found that children whose parents practiced this kind of supportive non-intervention had better impulse control and problem-solving skills by age 5. The key? Not abandoning them in distress, but calmly observing, allowing them to feel their emotions, and stepping in only if they truly can't cope. Imagine this scenario. Your child throws a tantrum because they want candy before dinner. The American reflex might be to either give in, fine, just one piece, or launch into a lecture, sugar is bad for you. The French approach? A simple, firm, no, we eat sweets after meals, followed by silence. No bargaining, no threats, just a boundary held with quiet confidence. The child may protest, but over time, they learn that whining doesn't change the answer. Another striking difference? French parents don't engage in endless debates. American parents often fall into the trap of over-explaining why they can't have candy, why bedtime is non-negotiable, why running into traffic is a bad idea, as if logic will magically soothe a tantrum. But French parents understand something neuroscientists have confirmed. Young children's prefrontal cortexes, the part of the brain responsible for reasoning, are still under construction. No amount of negotiation will change that. Instead, French parents use what parenting expert Pamela Druckerman calls the benevolent dictatorship, clear, non-negotiable boundaries delivered with calm authority. Research from the University of Washington shows that kids raised with consistent, firm limits, as opposed to permissive or authoritarian extremes, have lower anxiety levels and better social skills. Why? Because unpredictability is stressful for children. When they know exactly where the lines are, they feel safer. But here's the real kicker. French parents don't feel guilty about saying no. In the US, we've been sold this idea that good parenting means making our children happy all the time. Hence the elaborate sticker charts, the time-ins, the desperate bargaining to avoid tears. But French parents see it differently. They believe that frustration is a necessary life skill, not an emergency to be avoided. A 2019 study in developmental psychology found that children who were allowed to experience moderate frustration, instead of having it immediately resolved by a parent, developed better coping mechanisms and emotional resilience later in life. Think about it. If a child never learns to handle disappointment at home, how will they deal with rejection, failure, or setbacks in the real world? Another subtle but powerful difference? French parents don't overpraise. American parents tend to shower kids with "good job" for everything from finishing their milk to drawing a stick figure. But French parents reserve praise for meaningful effort. Psychologists call this specific praise, and it's linked to higher motivation and self-esteem in kids. Instead of, "you're so smart," which can actually backfire by making kids afraid to fail, try, "you worked really hard on that puzzle." This shifts the focus from innate talent to effort, something they can control. Over time, children learn that persistence, not perfection, is what matters. And finally, French parents don't apologize for being in charge. They know kids want boundaries, even if they test them. A 2020 study in the Journal of Family Psychology found that children whose parents set clear, confident limits reported feeling more secure, not less. So how do you enforce rules without yelling? Lower your voice instead of raising it. Maintain eye contact. Use fewer words. Shoes on now, instead of, how many times do I have to tell you to put your shoes on? And most importantly, believe in your own authority. If you don't, your child won't either. The French aren't perfect parents. No one is. But they've mastered something many of us struggle with: raising kids without losing their minds in the process. And the best part? Their strategies aren't cultural secrets. They're science-backed skills anyone can learn. So put down the sticker charts, silence the guilt, and start parenting like you mean it. Your café au lait moment awaits.